Welcome into the Gramlich and MacLane podcast, presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and MacLane. We're back. I hope that you guys missed us. We took a little break after Miami lost to Indiana in the national championship. Had to get over the heartbreak, obviously, Mac, but had to just recharge a bit. Mac's been all over the place following Miami across the country. And we're back to dive into some big things that have been happening in the offseason, Mac. Some controversial subjects. We got to get into that. But Mac, you've been resting. How you doing?
I'm trying. I've been trying to rest up a little bit. It's kind of like hibernation, and you take like 4 days and then you're back. It's a quick hibernation. Here we go. You're just sprinting because college football. It is funny too. People, as we went longer in the college football season, you see more people, talk to more people, and all those things, which is great and a ton of fun. But people are like, yeah. So what do you do after this? And it's like, well, college football kind of keeps going. And we don't really stop. There's not games, but we still talk about this. So that was kind of fun and just interesting to see that. And here we are. And like you said, there are a ton of things that are happening in college football. And some of that I think will slow down because there's only one portal window now. There's not another one coming after
Thankfully.
spring and things of that nature. So it has slowed down a little bit. But yeah, life is good, KG. And I see you're in a different place and it looks like there is a Arctic white glow bouncing off of something hitting you. I can only imagine there's 2 or 3 feet of snow in front of you right now.
Yeah, you know my trick. I do the ironing board in front of the window, but I'm in Connecticut, so it's so bright because there's so much snow. So I may kind of look like an ice princess right now. But yeah, there's a ton of snow. And Max, speaking of snow, this was a good transition before we get into some of these topics. The South has been just under duress, okay? It's been pure chaos. Now, Mac doesn't count because he lives in Columbia and they don't get snow, even though they're probably about to.
Hopefully,
In
fingers crossed.
Greenville, it's been just crazy, and so I have been utilizing Ingles. I'm not the crazy lady that just goes, "I need bread and milk." I do need milk because my toddler drinks milk, and I did get some bread, but I also got other staples and important things to stock up on during these snow days, and I think we're about to get some more. We're recording this a little early, so time will tell,
No
but,
doubt.
Ingles is your spot. If you're in the South and you're freaking out, you need to get to Ingles for all
That
your
I
needs.
I'm glad that you brought this up and of course, sprint there, hurry, because others are gonna beat you. If you're listening to this now and you're not there yet, maybe it's
Good
too
luck.
late. But this is an interesting point because you bring up something that I never, ever, ever understand. Since I've been, like, small enough to realize what food does over a period of time, why does milk and bread go away? The things that go bad the
They're
worst, the
perishable.
quickest, makes no sense. Makes no sense. Canned goods, meat that you can freeze or cook, whatever. I don't understand the milk and bread. Can you help me with that in any way?
I think I did get bread because the fear of us losing power, which, didn't happen, thank God. The idea was, okay, I could make a peanut butter sandwich. Like, in your mind, if you're gonna lose in my mind, I guess we're losing power for weeks on end, and, like, we're gonna be struggling to find any sort of food. We can just live and sustain life on peanut butter sandwiches. That's what I was
And
thinking.
milk, and milk.
Well, you need the milk, and then we run out of that, and then my toddler would not be happy, so
Yeah. Well,
I don't
I
know
just
exactly.
honestly, I can't think of 2 things that I would want
Go
more if
bad.
I was stranded than milk and bread, like a milk bread sandwich. That
Love it.
sounds so good.
Honestly, my toddler would eat that, Mac. I think
He
she
probably
would.
would, and he would love it. Maybe it's good. Maybe we should try that out. Any moral of the story, don't just get milk and bread, and honestly, don't get it all. Who cares? You don't buy it anyway. Get other stuff. So, we'll
Yeah.
see, unless you have a toddler and you like peanut butter sandwiches. Let's get to a message from our friends over at Ingles, and then we're gonna dive into a couple of different topics. Can't wait.
Hmm.
Did you know Ingles only sells USDA choice and prime cuts of meat? Maybe it's time to reward yourself. Our butchers cut all our meat fresh in the store every day. Grass-fed, organic, you name it. Not only that, we'll even cut it to order just the way you like it. And we grind meat fresh in the store multiple times a day. It's all in the bag. That's the best meat in town for the best folks in town. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Okay, Mac, we're going to dive into some controversial topics. Today is just controversy day on the Graham and McLean podcast because we have to give some thoughts on this because a lot of things have gone down in the ACC. Let's start with the biggest news, I would say, right now in college football. Former Duke quarterback Darian Mensah and wide receiver Cooper Barkate are transferring to Miami. And this was a whole thing, a legal battle between Duke and Mensah. And it's a big deal for a lot of reasons. I mean, we've talked about it. Darian Mensah was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And Duke won the ACC. His numbers were phenomenal. And he had a 2-year deal with Duke. So that adds into the wrinkle here. Miami, we know, is looking for a quarterback. D-Money told us to stay tuned, that something explosive might happen. I feel a lot of different ways about this. I think this is a nuanced
Yeah.
situation. So let's just start, Mac. What are your overall thoughts on this whole thing going down?
Yeah, I think it is interesting, and I'm glad you laid it out that way because I have a bunch of different feelings, about this, and I think it's only fair to start with the overarching feeling, which is, and Miami fans, if you don't want to hear this, go ahead and skip forward. It's all good, but this is just how I feel. I hate it. I think it sucks. I think it's stupid where we are that we have these contracts in place. And we just don't follow them. Like there's just ways out of them, and there's no rules, there's no laws. Do whatever you want, and I don't. I have not heard anything from Duke, and if there was tampering, then they should have come out and said it. They should have come out and presented facts and things of this nature, like Clemson did. So I haven't heard anything that. So I think all the people that have been flooding my mentions about tampering and accusations, I think that's kind of foolish just to throw out there. I think there are ways that you do this that it's not tampering. I don't think Mario Cristobal sending texts like, "Hey, Big Ed, what's the buyout?" Like some schools do, which is just foolish and so silly and dumb, to be honest, that others have. So I think if a player's representation reaches out, or if someone reaches out that isn't necessarily an employee of Miami's coaching staff to that player's representation, then I don't know. I don't know if that's against the rules or if it's just is what it is. So I don't like that. I don't like the overarching picture of where we are, kind of with these rules. I don't like it with coaches. I don't like coaches can just have buyouts and just dip out and go against their things. I don't like that coaches are leaving college football playoff teams, college football playoff runs, causing unbelievable drama, making it all about themselves. I don't like that. So we're in a really weird spot. And so I kind of look at it from that lens. I look at it from Darian's lens as a person that grew up in a single family home and
Mm.
as is allegedly, we won't know the numbers, we'll know
Yeah.
alleged numbers, is going to be making a lot more money playing for a team that just lost the national championship.
He
I
was
mean,
already making life-changing money.
sure,
Let's add
sure.
that
Why not
in.
double it? Why not double it? Take care of even more, take care of even longer. So I don't fault him for that. And just thinking of the, track record and the success that Miami has had and looking at the position that they're in, why not join that party if they're interested, if you're interested, kind of in that. And then I look at it from the lens of, well, it's happened. And it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really good. Like there's so many different emotions that are pulled. Like I think Darian Mensah is one of, if not the best quarterback in the country. He is being infused into one of the best rosters in the country that just needed a quarterback like that. That's good for business for the ACC. That's good for business for Miami, obviously, needing something of that nature. And he brings his talented, freshman Cooper Barkate with him. That's crazy. I mean, that is really good for Miami. You look at how loaded that they are. There were 4 wide receivers in the ACC that had 1,000+ yards last year. Miami has 2 of them on their roster now. That is nuts to think of the skill. So I know we'll dive into a bunch of those different things, but that's kind of overarching, KG, where my head is with this situation.
I think you laid it out well. Like, let's start with, and I know there's a bunch of legal complications with the contract and all this stuff that Mac and I just aren't smart enough, frankly, to understand. So I get that we're not lawyers, but from what you said, like, I do hate it. I hate that we're at this point right now where, and if you're going to sign a 2-year deal, Mac, I think you should honor that. Like, would I want my son to honor that contract? Sure. But then you bring in the money aspect and you bring in the fact that there are no rules. Like, this is, for lack of a better term, like, this country runs on capitalism, but we have
Mhm.
guardrails, right? We have rules, we have laws. This is capitalism, if you will, with no rules, no
Mhm.
guardrails. So it's going to be a disaster. And human nature and greed will take over. Like, everyone's trying to win, everyone's trying to preserve their jobs. And if you can do this and not be punished for it or penalized for it, then you're going to do it. These are cutthroat. This is a cutthroat profession. these coaches got to where they are because they are relentless. And so they're going to do that in every way that they can, whether that's building their roster or coaching up their team. So I get where Miami's coming from, that if this is allowed and you need a quarterback, then go get the best one that wants to come play for you.
Mhm.
Like, I understand that. But I also understand why Duke is livid. And also the fact that this happened at the very, very end of the portal. So now
Right.
Duke is scrambling to go find themselves a quarterback, and Barcade leaves. And then didn't Barcade enter the portal, but the portal was closed? Like, I don't, Mac, it's silly. And yes, I do want us to actually talk about what this means for Miami, and it is great for Miami, and Miami's going to be really, really good again, and that's good for the ACC. But I hate how it went down. I hate
I
where
agree.
we are, and I don't know how we can solve this because the NCAA really has no legal power.
Right.
And does that end up with these players need to become employees? Because then you can
Right.
legally work with that versus student athlete. I don't know, but it all just feels a little scummy to me. Just the
Mhm.
whole situation, Mac. It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't, and I'm glad you brought up the Duke point. I forgot to mention that in my opening remarks, if you will.
Yes, yeah.
Because for Duke too. I mean, think of those players. Like it's different when it's a player leaving. Like a coach leaves, that's kind of historically happened, and it's just kind of like, man, screw that guy, right? And we'll all rally and this and that. But when a guy that like you bleed and sweat and cry and work and win a championship and you're expecting to do it again. Let's go back to back. And then that guy leaves, especially the quarterback. Man, that's hard. That's
Like,
a
how does
tough.
Nate Shepherd feel right now? You know?
Right. Right. Like other guys. I mean, plenty of guys that decided to stay maybe because of him. Obviously, we know how Cooper Barkay feels.
Mhm.
And then just thinking about them, like my brother leaving me like that, that's hard. That's mentally tough. And very difficult, for those guys to deal with. And that stinks. That's just the world that we're in right now, I guess. And the guys coming behind them, you're going to have to get used to that. Like this is going to happen, I guess. This is kind of unprecedented here. And the fact that it was at the last second, it was
Yes.
literally the latest that it possibly could, have happened out of nowhere, pretty much. From the player side, that stinks. The teammate side, that stinks. From the coaches and not being able to go out and get a guy. Now, certainly the interesting thing to remember here, there are still quarterbacks in the portal. Now, are there any as good as him? No, not even close. But there are guys. And once you're in the portal, there's not a window that stops that you cannot then go to another school. Now, you have to get into school and you have to get into classes and be eligible and things of that nature. But, Duke will, I guess, have time to be able to go and get a quarterback. And I don't know how they operate, if it's quarters or 2 semesters or what. They will go find somebody, but that's not ideal. Like that
Mm-mm.
stinks. And really the last kind of part about it with Duke before we, fully move on to the Miami side of it, there was a settlement. Like they are getting something back. It's not just empty handed. We're losing our best player. Now, is that $4 million? Is it more? Is it less? I don't know. And what does that mean? Are you satisfied with that? Like, it's kind of a weird thing of, are you gonna, hold this kid hostage? He's not being held hostage.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
just, it is what it is. And how does that look to the other players that might want to transfer there and be a part? Like, what? You're doing that to who? I don't know if I want to be a part of that. So it's a really crappy situation that this goes all the way back to my first point of this sucks. And I hate where we are. I guess it ended as well as it could, give him the circumstances of he's leaving. At least you got something for it. I don't know. And it's 2 private institutions. We'll never know any
Right.
numbers. Um, but it just kind of stinks. I guess at the end of the day, I do commend everyone for acting as adult as they could, I guess. That it didn't get into this nasty, gross, kicking, screaming, he said, she said court case, I guess. I don't know.
I
It's
guess.
it's just not a fun situation. It's not a fun situation.
Rollback just dropped their licensed game day collection. Polos, hoodies, Q-zips, custom designed for your school. On game days, we wear rollback, period.
It goes back to something that I feel super strongly about, that I think, in an ideal world should be a rule, but I don't know how you can't put the genie back in the bottle. But you should be able to transfer one time without a some sort of consequence. You get a mulligan if you show up and this is not what you thought it would be, or your relationship with the coach deteriorates, or your coach is fired or whatever,
Mhm.
you can transfer one time.
Mhm.
But the second transfer with no consequences. Now, if Mensah wanted to transfer to Miami, he can sit out a year. Like that's to me what it should be. That would solve so many of these issues because it would make your word mean something because you couldn't just leave, like you'd have to stay. But since that genie's been taken out of the bottle, I don't think you legally, the NCAA cannot legally enforce that and put that back in. So that's part of our whole big issue here is that you can just transfer as many times as you want.
Yeah, that's where, some type of collective bargaining agreement will have to come into play because if you have those, rules that are signed on and agreed by, I completely agree. I think that will eliminate a huge portion of tampering. I think that'll eliminate a huge portion of the dysfunction, that we have of guys just willy-nilly. I mean, Finley transferring that quarterback transferring like 7 times. First of all, how are you still eligible? I don't understand.
Do you have a degree
Uh
at all? Do you have
Right,
any
right.
friends? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know.
And the money can't be that good. Like, I mean, this
No!
come on, like what's happening? So it's so bizarre, but I completely agree and support the one free time transfer. And then upon graduation, I think you can leave if you want to leave. And then if a coach gets fired. So I think there's enough ways built in that you can still have the power and freedom that we didn't have as players, when we were there because we had to sit out no matter what. So I 100% support that and think that it's going to take Congress and judicial and whatever, everybody kind of coming together to figure that out, which I don't know if I have confidence in that. But I do agree with you. I think that that would solve a ton of different problems.
It would make college sports more enjoyable for the fans, but because you'd actually know who's on certain teams. But
Yeah.
obviously, none of this is about the fans. Okay, let's talk about Miami. Let's try to turn the page. As Mac and I have said, we both don't like this, but we do like it in that Miami's going to be really, really good. And Darian Mensah is going to get to play with elite talent. And I mean, sky's the limit for Miami. Mac, like I think I saw you were talking about they should be preseason number one. I agree with that.
You look at this team and there is so much talent. Just to rattle off a few, the ACC's leading passer, Darian Mensah, a Miami Hurricane. The ACC's leading rusher, Mark Fletcher, a Miami Hurricane. The ACC leading pass catcher, receiver, Malachi Tony, Miami Hurricane. The second leading receiver, Cooper Barkay, Miami Hurricane. It is so elite what we're going to see on the offensive side of the ball that the only issue that I'm relatively concerned with is the linemen.
Sure,
Guess
sure.
what? Cristobal got linemen. He's
Yeah,
good.
he's gonna
Coach
figure it out.
Alex Mirabal, the offensive line coach, they're good. I will never worry about what an offensive line looks like at Miami. They have a freak of nature superstar that's probably going to start at right tackle, true freshman. They have Sampson, who has been there, been a 5-star, waiting in the wings, whether he's a starting guard or tackle. They have guys. They will be fine. I am not worried about that offensive line. Now, do they have a solidified first-round draft pick that's going to start day one? Maybe not right away, but they might turn into that. With Maui Noah moving on to the offensive line, they don't have a dinosaur at 6'9", Markel Bell, but they're going to have guys. They will be more than serviceable. I can promise you that on the offensive line. And then people want to look around on the other side and say, well, they're losing Reuben Bain. Yes, elite. Very good. Oh, they're losing Keem Mesidor. Yes, elite. Very good. But they just brought in a transfer from Missouri that's probably going to end up being a top 10 pick. They have 2 5-stars waiting to play that couldn't get on the field because Bain and Mesidor never get tired, itching to play, that are going to be phenoms. They returned the 2 interior guys. Miami's going to be fine. Miami should be the number 1 team in the country when we do that first rating with the infusion of Darian Mensah at quarterback. Like, that was the only question mark that I have that has now been answered with the best quarterback in the country. Like, it is what it is, right? And so with all that talent, the expectation's really high. And how do you manage that? How do you manage doing it again and having a great combination of guys that were just on that team that lost, that saw that red and white confetti fall on their head? How do you manage that with a couple of new guys that are probably even hungrier because they haven't been to that place? You've been to the mountain, you had a taste, How do you stay at the mountain? How do you take it back home? That is what is going to be really interesting to me, and just how it all comes together. Because I'm sorry, I'm long winded here.
No,
You
you're
look at
good. You're right.
Miami's deficiencies offensively this year, the only one was the deep ball. And that was just,
Explosive
it's
plays,
just
yeah.
not Carson's thing. He just can't do it. He can do everything else. He was exceptional, really, really good player. Now you've got a guy that can sling the deep ball and that is a little bit more mobile and is fantastic on the move. Look out. Like Shannon Dawson in this final form, like whatever, you kind of mix Cam Ward and Carson Beck together to
Mm.
this guy. Look out. Look out.
That's interesting, mixing, Cam and Carson together, even though Cam Ward, of course, was the number 1 overall pick, so
Right.
he's fine himself. But having a better defense
For
paired
sure.
with that type of quarterback talent. Yeah, I think Miami should be preseason number 1. I completely agree. Alright, let's get to our second controversial topic of the day, Eric
There's
McLean.
more. This feels
Oh, there's
like
more.
a reality TV show. Like, this isn't college football.
The ACC has just been in the news, making a lot of headlines for better or worse. Ole Miss and Clemson. Ole Miss tampering, Dabo laid it out. Dabo has receipts. He spent, I think, 8.5 minutes laying it out in his press conference of what exactly happened, down to the details of it. And basically, Luke Farrelly, the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year linebacker from Cal, was signed, was in class, was in team meetings, and Ole Miss said, "We got more money. Come play with us." And it was straight up tampering. So I liked that Dabo took a very hard stance on it. I liked that he went a little scorched earth and he laid it all out. Now, do I have confidence that anything's going to happen from it? No. But I do think it makes people think twice a little bit if they're going to tamper with a Clemson signee, that Dabo's going to go scorched earth. But if there are no repercussions or consequences for Ole Miss, who cares? Then nothing else is going to happen. So I think Dabo handled it well as one can, but it's still a real negative situation for Clemson. You lose this guy who was going to be a starting linebacker for you, who was going to be a huge piece of what you're trying to do defensively. And it just feels like you put it all out there, but you have no power to make anything change or happen. So it's a bit depressing, Mac. What do you think?
Well, time will tell if it's depressing, but it probably does feel a little powerless for sure,
Yeah,
because there
that's
is
the word.
nothing you as Clemson can do. You've done all that you can. Now, I don't know if there's other legal things that you can pursue. I did hear Graham Neff, the AD, kind of in that joint press conference where a handful of things were addressed, kind of mentioned, Clemson's going to explore multiple options, whatever that is. He didn't lay out, what that looks like. And I have no knowledge of what that looks like. So, is there something more Clemson could do? Maybe, I guess, or try. What does that equate to? What does that look? We will see. And, I don't think KG and I are going to go through like every timestamp like Coach Sweeney did. You can go watch that anywhere. It's great. I think he did a great job laying that all out and fighting for his team and his university, and quite frankly, fighting for principle. Like that's, something that he's going to do. And I think the interesting thing about that, the overall situation, before I dive into the specifics of it, is it felt like public perception wise, it was like 90% outside of Ole Miss fans. I'm like, get rid of them, just for this moment. I'm sure you're great. Love you. Outside of that, it felt like everybody was on Dabo's side and really like, yeah, this needs to happen. This is something that, it isn't right. And my goodness, this is great. And then there's that couple percent, and maybe it's even less than that. There's a couple people that are like, oh, Dabo's whiny and he's out of touch and this. And how can you even say that? Like, in what world is a man who is standing up to not cheat and to not do things the wrong way? When did that become whiny? It must just be like a conference on conference thing, the conference
That's where we are in
affiliation.
college football, though. No one
It
knows right
has
or
to be
there's
just
no
that.
right or wrong anymore.
Right,
Like,
because that's just that's foolish and quite frankly stupid to say something of that nature, to commend and to say you're not with the times, just cheat. Like, listen,
yeah. What?
myself, you, hopefully a lot of people watching don't think that way. And there's a right and a wrong way to do things. So I thought that was just, I don't know, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard somebody say. But hey, is what it is. I guess do what you got to do for clicks and to get on different shows. But at the end of the day, I thought that how he handled it was fantastic. I think the way that Luke handled it to a certain degree is good by telling, hey, this is happening. They're telling me this, and I want to stay here until he didn't, till that offer got to where it did and he packed up and left. So, what happens will be very interesting to see. The fact that a head coach, like how dumb are you
Yeah.
texting a player that is signed, that's in school, that's already like that's crazy. That's risky business. And you're right, unless something happens, more will continue to do that unless there's a ramification. And since this is a little bit newsy, probably for y'all, or a little outdated now that y'all have seen this. A Fresno State player has risen up and said, Ole Miss also contacted me illegally and text me illegally. And he gave those texts to the NCAA. So there's a little bit of a snowball effect happening right now. And I'll be interested to see if others kind of add to it because Clemson's already laid it out there. Clemson's already filed the complaint and done all the official things. Now it's just people tagging on and saying, oh, yeah, add this to it. Add this to the file out back and continue to read through it. And the NCAA has said, we're investigating them. Like it's happening. So what comes from that? Fascinating to see. Is it postseason bans? Is it fines? Is it suspensions? Is it firings? Is it conference bans? I don't know. But it feels like it's a good time and a good instance to do something. In a
Make an
world of
example.
chaos, if there's any power to be had, whether by conference or NCAA, feels like there's a good time to drop a hammer somewhere to try to get some balance and some chaos controlled, right now. Because if not, do whatever you want. There is no ramifications. There is no tampering. Throw it out. It's just recruiting. Get rid of it if you're not going to enforce it. So
Yeah.
I think this is as black and white as it's ever been, as evidence, and a school that this is the other important part, a school willing to participate fully and give proof and give evidence and give timelines that we've never seen before. People just say, oh, we've been tampered with. Well, what is it? It just is what it is. No, Clemson gave you a very detailed outline example and situation that happened. So who knows? We'll see. Because I don't want this to happen to anybody. It's funny that we're probably a little bit more emotionally invested that it's our school. I don't care about that. I don't care. Who cares? It's not about the linebacker. It's about the situation. It's about the morals. It's about the principle. I'm fine to lose and get beaten. I'm not fine to lose and get beaten because you cheated. Like
Mm.
that's where, to me as a competitor in life, I'm not cool with that. If it's one thing if I'm not good enough, it's another if you did something that wasn't allowed or illegal or different to get that result.
This may be a controversial question to ask. Do you feel a lot differently about what Ole Miss did than about what Miami did?
Yeah, see, and
Because
that's
tell me
I'm
why.
glad that you made it black and white like
I can
that
just see what
because
the comments are gonna be, so I'm just curious.
yeah, there and that's why I kind of protected that on the front end a little bit. If that happened, then no, I would feel the exact same. And I would call out Mario Cristobal. If he sent a text to Darian Mensah, like Pete Golding sent a text to Luke Farrelly and said, I know you're signed. What's the buyout? If if Mario Cristobal did that, then I would call him a fool and I would call him all these things. But that hasn't come up. And Duke has not said that. And Darian Mensah has not shown his coach that. So that's why I think the two situations are similar because it's a player being lost, but they're not even close to the same in regards to how it happened. And so, yeah, we will do a whole nother podcast if it comes out, that's how this, acquisition was created or came about. But I haven't heard that. And I think, quite frankly, Coach Cristobal's not an idiot like some others are and would never do that. And so, and just probably a little higher character dude too. So I think I don't think they're related in that regard, in regards to the severity of the cheating that happened. Now, still, I hate both, and I think it's stupid that that's where we are.
This too, just one more thing, like, I hate to be the downfall of society person, but okay, Mac, as you and I have been very lucky, we have great parents. We grew up not wanting for much. Like we didn't grow up in single parent, tough households where, money was super tight and we had to figure out where our next meal was going to come from. Okay? So I can't understand that, and I understand if people are going through that, that's a whole different thing. But to me, I throw that conversation out the window when we're talking about 4 million versus 8 million. okay? Because you can feed your family on $4 million. So that's where you lose me. And that's where I would tell my son, oh, Miami's offering you 8, Duke's giving you 4. I don't know that for sure. This is just what I'm throwing out there. Miami's offering you 8, Duke's giving you 4. I would say you had a contract you need to offer. You need to honor it. Same thing with Forelli. I would say, oh, Clemson's offering you 1, Ole Miss is offering you 2. Again, just throwing numbers out there. I would say you need to honor that contract. That's what I would say. And you know what? That's what my parents would have told me.
Mhm.
So maybe this is a hot take, and I'm sorry if it offends someone, but I feel like there's gotta be you've gotta have some sort of standard there, maybe on your
Mhm.
own, or just in your own mind or in your family's mind of, "Hey, we're not taking this." Like,
Yeah.
I told people I would be here. I told people I would play here for 2 years. I'm going to stay here. That's the way I
Mhm.
see it.
And I think that's what, life is about is different perspectives and different upbringings and different situations. And that's why this is the greatest country in the world because we can make those choices and we have the ability to do all that. So I agree with you from that's how I was raised and that's how I will raise my children. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't. And so that's where, I do wish that there was just stricter things and that, our word meant something, all those included. But at the end of the day, y- you and I cannot put ourselves in others' shoes from those situations. But I agree. I agree with what you're saying, how I would handle it, how Amelia will handle it one day, how hopefully others will handle it one day, and Luke and Jacob and all these things. So I think it's we're just in a weird world, and that's applicable to coaches too. Because guess what? As funny as it is, yes or no, and I forgot to bring this up earlier. Manny Diaz was the head coach at Temple for 18 days and left in the middle of the night to go coach Miami. Did the same thing. There was a buyout involved. He had committed to those players and to that university until he wasn't. So it is what it is. We all make decisions based on different things and a better job and more money. And it is what it is. If Fox called me today and said, we're going to give you $2 million, I'd have to think about it. It's a weird world. It's a weird world. And until we are put in those situations, it's hard to sit here and say what we would do. We
But
hope
Mac,
what our foundation is built on. Go ahead
the
with what you're
difference
saying.
is there are rules. Like, your
Right. There are
contract
there would be severe rules if I did that. You're
there's
right.
rules. Your
That's
contract at ESPN is
yeah.
enforceable
Yeah.
because you're an
Yeah.
employee. So
Correct.
there's just no guidelines, and then when there's no guidelines, humans are gonna make decisions that, are because they want more money, and I get that. But Mac, I like when we're talking about, well, he's getting paid more. Like, it's more that he can feed his family. You can feed your family on $4 million. Like, that's where you kinda lose me on that one. That's what I'm
We'll
saying.
ask him. I'll ask him about it next time I see him. We'll see what the real reason is.
And
We'll
look,
see. I'm sure
I
he'll tell me.
know, yeah, like, we've had Darian Mensah on, he seems like a great guy.
Great
Like,
kid.
and
And
he's
that's
been
that's the
fantastic.
thing too, like,
I
that it
know.
probably hurts a little bit more for Duke. Like, he's a great kid.
I
He's a great
know.
leader. He's a great kid. You
That's
don't
why I
wanna lose
hate
him.
all of
You don't
this.
wanna lose him. I know. I know. It's so brutal.
I hate all of
We'll
it.
see. We could talk about this for hours on
I
end.
know.
We could bring people on to talk about it. Maybe we will. Maybe this will be a great summer topic with somebody, and we just go through it. And this is like a Joe Rogan 3-hour podcast. Who knows?
Whoa,
We'll see.
3
Could be
hours.
fun. Could be
Okay,
fun.
I'm
But
intrigued.
I gotta go. I gotta go pick up
Yes,
my
Mac's
beautiful
gotta go.
daughter girl.
I gotta go
You
too,
gotta
but
go
this
to
has been
work.
fun.
This was fun.
More to come.
Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you listening. Shout out to Ingles, all the help that they do, and couldn't do this without them. Also, couldn't do it without y'all. So go subscribe if you're still hanging out with us. Jump in the comments. Let us know. I expect these comments to be crazy, and we'll get in there and get back with you guys. You'll see this all over the place. We'll put on social media, and we will be back next week with our season reviews. I
Let's
cannot
go.
wait to do this. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have some great guests on. Going to go through probably 10, 11 teams, that did really well this year and just break it down. What happened? What was great? What was bad? What was maybe unexpected or expected? And that will be a ton of fun. So we appreciate you guys. Until next time, we'll see y'all.